Finally, I was surprised by how good Bayonetta 2 turned out, right?
Yeah.
Because it's crazy, right? The last Bayonetta was kind of I guess a cult favorite, you might say, but I don't think the world was particularly demanding a sequel.
Sure.
But then they announced it as a Wii U exclusive.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being awesome.
Yeah.
One of the best action games of the year.
Yeah, from the jump, this was a weird, strange decision to see aligned with a company like Nintendo. We went to E3 a few years ago. They had all their colorful booths set up everywhere. You could go play Zelda and Mario and Donkey Kong and all this stuff like that. And in the corner was a woman dressed like Bayonetta, and people were taking pictures of her. And I was like, this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit within this world. And then he started revealing character costumes, and that there was a bonus level where you could ride on like the R-Wing from Star Fox. And none of it made sense to me. And I thought that the introduction of the characters when you're playing the game is weird. The cutscenes are jarring. Just the language everyone's using doesn't make a lot of sense. There's no context in which why a woman who can turn her hair into a weapon is suddenly fighting giant robot dragons. But once it gets going, you're like, holy shit, this really works. Like you put all this stuff away, all the pretense away, and you have one of the best action games of the year, if not of probably the last 10 years.
I mean, honestly, so we're sort of in this drought of character-based action games.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't had a great God of War game in a while. It's been a couple of years since DMC and Revengeance came out, and this game to me sort of epitomizes that Japanese sentiment of making it easy to look cool, but very difficult to master. Like if you play this game on easy, you can get through it just fine, you can look like a badass, but if you really want to master the core mechanics of combat and blocking and parrying, this game has insane, like depth of the length, or the depth of which I haven't seen in a very long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be kind of a divisive game.
Yeah.
And it's because I can totally respect the mechanics are super deep and one of the best fighting, character action games ever made. At the same time, virtually everything around that is off-putting to me. Sure. I find the story awful. I find the characters awful. Yeah. But I can totally respect how people can enjoy that and look past it to see what's really cool about it.
Yeah, it's one of the few games where I was like sort of embarrassed every time someone else would walk in the room while I was playing it. I would have to be like, no, I'm not. I'm not watching the news.
It's a really tough one to explain to people out of context. I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense to anybody who walks in the room.
If you get your hands on the controller and you're in it, you're in it and playing it, then you're like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, there's this very kind of sort of zen moments that happen while you're playing that game where you don't get hit for a while, and you're using the bullet time and stuff like that, and everything just flows perfectly. It's really well made.
I started playing it with my wife in the room. She lasted about 5 minutes. Like, well, I'll be in the other room.
Well, I'm divorced now.